Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today. So let's start off talking about WWE. Let's talk about Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns being the top merchandise seller in WWE. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. WWE are very happy with him. But there's an interesting sort of caveat to this story, which I think is really interesting. And I think it goes to show that us as fans over the years, when we've been saying John Cena should turn heel, this person to turn heel, and the excuse or the narrative from WWE fans or WWE themselves has been they're a top babyface. If we switched them heel, we'd lose a ton of money in merchandise. Isn't really true anymore, and the evidence is there when it comes to Roman Reigns. So this is a fascinating story. So company officials are reportedly very happy with WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns' work as a heel in the company. Now, a new report suggests that Reigns is currently the top merchandise seller for WWE. This is according to Wrestling News. The tribal chief is said to be the all-time merchandise mover among a top heel wrestlers in the WWE in terms of their history. Now, it was noted that Reigns' merchandise sales are at the level of John Cena, and that is, of course, even more impressive as an accomplishment because Cena sold a ton of merchandise as a babyface. He was a babyface and still is for the majority of his WWE career, and a lot of people attributed that to obviously being super popular, super over, but also being a top babyface. In comparison, Roman Reigns is supposed to be a despised heel, but is still the top merchandise seller in WWE, and in fact is breaking records for selling merchandise as a top heel in the company. Now, on a related note, it's rumored that Roman Reigns will hold the Universal Championship for a long time, and there are no plans for him to drop the championship this year at all, which of course is big news considering that Reigns is scheduled and will be facing Brock Lesnar in just over a week's time at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. Now, this is a really interesting story, and the reason why I say it's fascinating because, again, for years and years when we spoke about John Cena and we spoke about should John Cena turn heel, why he should turn heel, the sort of creative stagnation that was there in his character, the fact that he needed to be freshened up, if you will. The biggest comeback from that argument would be WWE will never turn John Cena heel because of the merchandise that he sells as a top babyface. Yes, there was other things that go into it, commitments like Make-A-Wish. How can he be doing all of these Make-A-Wish wishes for all of these children, etc. If he's not a babyface? That was true as well. But the big part of the conversation was WWE had learned their lesson. That was the feeling. WWE had learned their lesson when it came to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve Austin, huge babyface in the Attitude Era, huge merchandise seller. I think to this day still holds the record for the amount of merchandise sold. Certainly does when it comes to one T-shirt. That Austin 316 T-shirt still holds the record to this day, I believe. Nevertheless, when WWE turned Austin heel in 2001 at WrestleMania 17, of course, not only did the ratings go down, but Austin's merchandise went down because he was now a heel. And the feeling was that WWE would never do that again because they learned their lesson of, we had such a wave of momentum and the ratings were so strong and the merchandise was so strong. Then we switched Austin heel because Austin wanted to go heel because he wanted to do something different creatively. He felt that his babyface character was getting stale, so he switched it. And in reality, nobody wanted to boo Steve Austin. The ratings went down, the merchandise went down. So for years and years and years, when we were crying out for John Cena to be turned into a heel when he was a babyface, the response was no. WWE saw what happened with Steve Austin. He's their cash cow. Why would they turn this guy into a heel when they would lose all of this money when it comes to merchandise? And I think now WWE is realizing that times have changed. You can have your top star be a heel and he can still sell a ton of merchandise. Roman Reigns is a top heel. He is a bad guy on television, but it doesn't make him any less captivating. It doesn't make him any less of a star. Nowadays, just in reality, whether it's sports, whether it's just, fame, celebrities, whatever it may be, the people that are the most famous and the most talked about and the most discussed and they're the most successful and they sell the most merchandise or they sell the most tickets in the sporting world or whatever it may be, or as a stand-up, any form of entertainment, they usually are polarizing figures nowadays. It's very rare nowadays for someone just to be completely beloved. Most of the time, the people that are the most successful now are people that not a lot of people like, or they are polarizing. And the fact they're so polarizing gets people talking. Nowadays, in the social media era, it's all about discussion and conversation and people talking about you, or people talking about this person. And that's kind of the case now when it comes to WWE. The thing is, the fact that Roman Reigns, arguably since he's turned heel, is far more popular than he's ever been. Because the days were of WWE shoving this guy down our throats as a go, you've got to like him, you've got to like him, you've got to like him. And we've seen this character a million times before. We've seen this Hulk Hogan, John Cena style babyface of never say die, I'm a good guy, I'm a top babyface, white meat babyface, cheer to the crowd cheer for me, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't wash nowadays. And to be honest, it hasn't washed since the Attitude Era. That's what made it even more infuriating. It felt like WWE had taken so many steps backwards in the way that they were booking Roman Reigns. The fact that finally they turned Reigns heel, he's doing the best work of his career, and whilst he's doing the best work of his career and he's far more of a captivating character and a character that's far more watchable and so more engaging, his merchandise goes up because he's cool. Because that's what people want to see nowadays. The anti-hero, the villain nowadays, the villain is almost far more popular than the hero. It just is. That's why you've got movies like The Joker, the Origin movie doing so well. That's why you've got things like The Suicide Squad, and I'm sure Marvel are going to do a Thunderbolts TV series or film as well. They're so popular, or Thanos is so popular in the MCU because people love a good villain. They love a good villain, and they love a villain that has layers to it. And a villain that actually speaks a little bit of truth in their warped actions. And Roman Reigns is the same. So I feel like this whole Roman Reigns experiment, if you will, has changed WWE's perception on what they do with their characters going forward. Make no mistake, and I know that Becky Lynch reportedly has been inspired by Roman Reigns' work as a heel. Make no mistake, though, Becky Lynch would not be a heel on WWE television today if it wasn't for Roman Reigns. In the sense that WWE has seen that Reigns has got more popular, more over, more marketable, more profitable since turning into a heel. So when Becky Lynch goes to WWE and says, I want to be a heel when I come back, previously they would say no. Becky Lynch is the top babyface, arguably the biggest female babyface that they have. Why would we ruin that? Why would we stop merchandise sales? Why would we do this? Why would we do that? Then they've looked at Roman Reigns and go, actually, Becky Lynch could get more over. She could be more popular. We could sell even more merchandise if we turn her into a heel. And I think that's their hope. That's their desire, certainly when it comes to Becky Lynch. Because look at it. They've done the same thing with Roman Reigns that they've done with Becky Lynch. It's the exact same thing. Reigns comes back as a heel. A week later, he wins the title. Becky Lynch comes back as a heel. The first night back in, she wins the title. There are parallels there, and there's a reason behind that. So I think that's very interesting. And look, the last bit of the report there that Reigns isn't going to drop the title anytime soon. I've been saying that for a long time. There was a bit like a feeling or a rumor. Some people were saying that maybe they would switch the titles at Crown Jewel. I would be very surprised. Very, very surprised. Reigns shouldn't be dropping the title anytime soon. He should be holding the title at the very least until WrestleMania next year, possibly even longer than that, because who can take it off him? There is no option. There is no option. He's the guy right now. And it would be foolish to ruin that, especially this soon. Let's talk about Raw last night. We got another tag team split because WWE, I guess, because WWE tag team wrestling is just non-existent. But another WWE tag team appears to have officially broken up during Raw last night. For weeks, Mustafa Ali and Mansoor had joined forces, but on last night's show, the duo lost to Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin in tag team action before Ali shoved Mansoor to the floor. Now, later on in the show, Mustafa Ali told Mansoor that he was nothing before attacking him backstage. Now, you would be saying, where is this leading? Well, that goes into the next story, because wouldn't you know it, a match has been announced for Crown Jewel between Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. Now, Mansoor has competed on every Saudi Arabia pay-per-view since the first one back in 2018, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because as soon as, look, Mansoor, I think he gets a lot of criticism because there is a feeling like, oh, he's only in WWE because of these Saudi shows, or he's only featured prominently because of these Saudi shows. And you know what? That's probably valid. But I think what does get overlooked is he is very talented. The matches he's had at the Saudi shows, even though he's been in there with the right people, like go back and watch that match he had against Cesaro. I don't know which Saudi show it was at. It might have been Crown Jewel. It was phenomenal. It was a really good match. So he's not a bad wrestler at all. And he does have something about him. He does have a bit of charisma. It makes you wonder. Look, as soon as Mansoor came to Raw, And it was like, okay, they're getting him on Raw because, again, they're going to be going back to Saudi soon. And the whole reason Mansoor is signed to WWE is because they want to have that homegrown Saudi star that they can keep going back to Saudi Arabia to, and they can have the homecoming, if you will. They can have the crowd, the adulation of the crowd, all that kind of stuff, right? Because it always benefits to have a star that's from the place that you're going to, right? For instance, William Regal was in WWE for all these years, still is in NXT, but every time they would come back over to the UK, he would be front and center on those shows because he was super over here, because he's from here. It's the same with Mansoor. So the moment that Mansoor showed up on Raw, after spending a long time in NXT, 205 Live, etc., everyone went, right, they're really pushing because, okay, we're going to be going back to Saudi soon. And it makes you wonder, because the Mustafa Ali-Mansoor pairing felt weird anyway. It felt really weird anyway. It makes you wonder if this was always the outcome. Always the theory of, right, they're going to split up eventually, then they're going to do a match at Crown Jewel. If that is the case, that it's just hilarious that WWE's long-term booking, it doesn't exist for anything else other than Mansoor and the Saudi shows. But hey, look, it wouldn't surprise me. And look, again, it's smart booking by WWE in the sense that, look who this guy is booked with when he does these matches on the Saudi shows. Cesaro, Mustafa Ali, a Battle Royal. He's always very protected, and it's always ensuring the match is always going to be good. The match against Cesaro, very good. Battle Royals, they're always over. Mustafa Ali, Mansoor, will be a great match. Assuming that they get time, which they will, because Mansoor's a Saudi star at a Saudi show. So, of course, this guy's going to get a lot of time. And he's improved significantly. And Mustafa Ali's a very good wrestler. So the match itself should be very, very good. It's just, I credit WWE for trying to give us a reason to care, but it's tag team wrestling in WWE. We're conditioned not to care about tag team wrestling. Let's continue talking about Raw last night. And obviously the King of the Ring tournament continued on last night's show, with Xavier Woods advancing during the show. He defeated Ricochet in a first-round match. And I think everyone, he's the pick that everyone wants to win. Right? This was even before the bracket was revealed, because Xavier Woods has been saying, not just in the build-up to the King Ring, he's been saying for years, on social media, on Up, Down, Down, on YouTube, on whatever it may be, interviews, that I don't want to be WWE champion. I don't want to be Universal champion. All I want is to be King of the Ring. I'm happy with that. If I never, ever win the WWE championship, or I never win a singles championship, the Intercontinental championship, United States championship, whatever it may be, I'm happy as long as I'm King of the Ring. So everyone wants that to happen. I don't know. I will say I don't know. The match against Ricochet was very good. The crowd was into it. The match was good. Now, obviously, there was a bit of intrigue heading into this one, not so much because of Xavier Woods' match with Ricochet. I think everyone knew that Xavier Woods was going to win that match. The intrigue was that once he went through, we then had Kofi Kingston going up against Jinder Mahal, and the theory, certainly, or the feeling was, we're going to get Xavier Woods versus Kofi Kingston in a semi-final. That's going to be really interesting. That's an interesting story there. Even prior to Xavier Woods' match against Ricochet, you had Kevin Patrick go to the New Day backstage. What happens if you get Kofi Kingston versus Xavier Woods? And they just laughed it off like he didn't say it. And he thought, right, they're planting seeds there. But typical WWE, they're planting seeds for something that isn't going to happen, because Kofi Kingston didn't go through. Jinder Mahal won his match on Monday Night Raw. Jinder Mahal defeated Kofi Kingston. So in the semi-final, we have Xavier Woods versus Jinder Mahal. And there is a bit of concern, I will say. There is a bit of concern because we have the two semi-finals now, of course. We have Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn on Smackdown. There is no way that Sami Zayn wins that match because he doesn't do Saudi shows because of those reasons. He's of Syrian descent, and I don't think he's allowed to go into Saudi Arabia because the Saudis, that's a political thing. But Sami Zayn isn't going to be on that show because he's never been on any Saudi show. So Finn Balor is going to be in the final, the King of the Ring final at Crown Jewel. So you then have to look at, okay, what match are they going to do? Are they going to do a babyface versus a babyface match, Finn Balor versus Xavier Woods? Or, in a more traditional sense, are they going to do babyface Finn Balor versus heel Jinder Mahal? That's concerning. That is concerning because we're going to get Mahal versus Xavier Woods, and there's a lot of people that really want Xavier Woods to win that match. But there certainly is a feeling that WWE doesn't tend to care what we want. It's what they want in terms of the story they want to tell. And they're a traditionalist, and they'll think, who cares about the groundswell of Xavier Woods' support? It's all about heat, damn it. Jinder Mahal's got to have heat. And we've got to have a babyface versus a heel. And it's a bit concerning. But I guess, look, on the flip side of it, does it add drama to the Xavier Woods-Jinder Mahal match? Yes, it does. And there's going to be a lot of people fired up about that one. But I dread the reaction. I really do dread the reaction if Jinder Mahal defeats Xavier Woods. And then Jinder Mahal goes on to win the King of the Ring. Ugh. And again, all in the name of heat. It's all in the name of heat, damn it. We've got to have that heat on our king. Ugh, I dread to think. But it wasn't the only tournament that was going on, of course, on Raw last night. The Queen's Crown tournament continued last night on Monday Night Raw. Shayna Baszler easily defeated Dana Brooke, and Doudrop defeated Natalya. This one's a bit of a more interesting one. Of the 4 names that are left here, I would hope that Shayna Baszler wins this one, because I think that the way they've been pushing her recently, and they call her the Queen of Spades, right? So why not make her the official queen? I think it'd be a great tournament for her to win. But again, I look at the other side of it. I look at the side of the SmackDown side of thing. That's a heel versus heel match, which I don't understand. It makes the Carmella Liv Morgan match even more bizarre, to be honest with you, because now it's Zelina Vega versus Carmella, unless they do an angle on SmackDown where they go in a different direction and Liv Morgan gets back into it and somehow gets to the final, which is a possibility, but I don't really see that happening. So, I mean, I think Carmella's getting to the final. I would be very surprised to see Zelina Vega get there. So Carmella's getting to the final. And then again, you then have to look at it from a babyface and heel dynamic. Are they going to go with a heel versus heel final of Carmella versus Shayna Baszler? Or are they going to go with a Carmella versus Doudrop final? And if that's the case, I don't know who would have won that. It's tough to call because Carmella feels like she's getting a new push by WWE every 5 minutes, whether it's dressing up in red and having a new entrance. Now she's got a mask or whatever it may be. Again, they push her every 5 minutes and the push tends to not work, and then they go back to the drawing board. And that's not a slight against Carmella, by the way, because I think she's very talented. It just for whatever reason, it doesn't work. But WWE, Vince McMahon, they're into the Doudrop character as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Carmella versus Doudrop final. I wouldn't. Even though I think this tournament is set up for Shayna Baszler to win. And the way they've been featuring her in recent weeks would suggest she's in line for a big push. So she should win a tournament like this. But you never know with WWE. And not in a good way. Not in a good way. You never know. Sometimes they will go in a different direction because they think that the best option, i.e. Shayna Baszler winning it, is too obvious. Even though they know that's the best option, they'll go, Shayna Baszler should be winning this tournament. Sometimes they think, it's too obvious, we'll go something different. But the problem is the outcome they get to makes no sense. Like Doudrop winning it. And you go, why? What does that do for her? So that's WWE at the end of the day. Let's talk about the Smackdown ratings briefly. They're out after Friday's season premiere show, and Friday's live Smackdown season premiere drew an average of 2.147 million viewers on Fox, according to Nielsen via Showbuzz Daily. This number is down 4.66% from last week's final viewership of 2.252 million viewers. Of course, that was the Draft Night 1 episode and the Post-Extreme Rules episode. The Friday Smackdown drew a 0.52 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. This is down over 16% from last week's 0.62 rating. SmackDown's in a weird position right now, obviously, because it's got the FS1 show this week, which is going to be significantly lower because it's just FS1 versus Fox. It's just going to be lower. But WWE in general is in a strange position in that, like, if you watch Raw last night, the brand split is in this weird state of flux right now in that it doesn't exist. After Crown Jewel, you've got those rosters set in stone, but we've seen this happen in the past whereby WWE, they do a draft, they think they're happy with the rosters, and then either the networks complain or the ratings aren't what they want, and they just scrap it and go to something different. I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked if they did something like that. Not saying they will, but I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't. So the ratings are difficult to judge right now because every show is a super show, and it involves talent that's on the old SmackDown roster, but also on the new SmackDown roster. I don't know. I really don't know. It's a bit of a free-for-all when it comes to the rosters right now. So It is what that is. Finally, this is a great story. WWE referee Sean Bennett has come out as gay on National Coming Out Day. WWE referee Sean Bennett celebrated National Coming Out Day on Monday by announcing that he is gay. Now, Bennett has been with the WWE since April 2013. He made posts on his Twitter and Instagram account to announce that he is gay. He wrote about how he hid his sexuality for years and was even in a long-term relationship with a female. Bennett previously came out to friends and family in his late 20s, and that's when he stopped hiding it, but now he's going public with coming out. So tremendous news. I mean, it's just continually breaking down barriers, and I long for the day that a story like this isn't even a story, if that makes sense. Like, it's because of still the society that we're in, which is far more acceptable and tolerable, and as it should be, and more inclusive, which as it should be. It still is a story because it still feels like a bit of a first, you know? And that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't. Like I said, I live for the day when no one has to, you know, come out, or no one has to, you know, just justify themselves or anything like that, or it's not a story. That's just who they are, and that's what it is now, but you know what I mean. So great news and incredibly courageous, and I really hope that it affects someone positively, because it should provide them hopefully with the courage to do the same in their own life. So credit to Sean Bennett, and celebrating Coming Out Day in the best way possible. But look, guys, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these WWE news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really just help us out here on YouTube, got the rankings, and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.